Do you ever feel like a solitary creature living in a social world? We are building an online community that fosters virtual friendships. Hello, and welcome to Social Leopards. I'm Beth.
Hi, I'm Bea.
And we are here to collect and share stories and information in the hopes of finding positive and meaningful ways forward. It is our goal to navigate this jungle called life.
Who knows? Maybe a leopard can change its spots. Hello, Social Leopards. This is Bea.
Hi, I'm Beth.
It's so hard to believe that we're wrapping up Season 1 with Episode 12 today. But before we get started, we need to announce that after this episode airs, we're going to be on a brief hiatus as we prep for Season 2. Yay!
Woohoo!
If you're listening in real time, that means we'll be back on February 6th, 2025.
Seems like it's a long time away, but it really isn't. Not at all. So today, we are reflecting on the things that remind us about why we started this podcast and share some of the more recent moments that have inspired us as we begin to think about Season 2.
Yeah, I think the most exciting part of Season 2 is going to be the incorporation of guests who are going to be sharing their lived experiences with social anxiety, loneliness, depression, and isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And even more exciting are the ways some of these individuals have overcome those struggles.
I am looking so forward to those conversations. I am equally excited to bring others in and learn more about those transformations and their personal journeys.
Yeah, like you said before, sharing perspectives is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn so much as we listen to a variety of opinions, and which is why the reason the two of us are hosting.
Mm-hmm.
It's also valuable to share many different perspectives about topics as possible, as we're all considering our struggles in very unique ways.
Mm-hmm. That there is no cookie cutter answer to reducing social anxiety or feeling less lonely in this world, for sure.
So I work with many children who struggle with loneliness, anxiety, and depression. And also, these are usually kids that have some kind of special education eligibility. So on top of just like a gen ed student, they're facing additional challenges. So there's so many factors like that I have to consider when I try to help them and give them strategies. So a lot of stuff that we'd look at are like social skills, coping skills, support at school, at home. The more support they have at home, the better. We try to incorporate some kind of skill streaming things for them so that they can understand how to be more socially appropriate. But the population that sticks out in my mind always are students that have autism, because those are the students that don't understand pragmatics. Do you know what pragmatics are, Beth?
Not in the clinical sense, so why don't you share that?
So it's really interesting. So it's just difficulty communicating verbally and non-verbally in social situations, right? We don't think about that. So for example, they want to understand what a joke is. They don't understand, if someone says how was your weekend? They're going to launch on oh, well, I play with Legos and I line them up and I went to the movies. They'll go on and on and on, and they won't ever look at the social cues that the person is giving them. So then it's very difficult. It's like a one-way conversation. It's like a monologue. So, we definitely have to teach them how to connect and develop social skills. And I will say that years ago, when I first started my job that I'm in now, I went to Bloomington, Indiana for a 1-week autism conference. It was one of the best absolute things that I've gone to. And I got to see students who were identified when they were 5 or 6 with autism. And then they were 25 and they were on this panel of guests.
Oh, wow.
And they talked about their experience, and they were amazing. But they said they learned a script and they follow the script. And that's how they react. And they still don't really intuitively know how to be social, but they remember the script. So
that's interesting. So my job is also in healthcare, but my exposure is a lot more removed as I'm not a clinician. But part of what I do involves finding kind of innovative ways to address social or economic or cultural interventions that tackle specific topics. One example is that I attended a rural and migrant health conference recently. And as I was listening to the various speakers and also interacting with some of the people that were just there attending the conference, a few things stuck out to me. I get inspired in like so many different ways because I'm always listening and attempting to find like parallels or connections between my work life and my personal life and my family life and now this podcasting life. And first, I just want to share an observation with people who feel unheard and alone and lonely and at a loss. There are so many awesome humans out there in the world who really deeply care about the people they serve professionally. And with that comes the recognition that connecting with people who are passionate and empathetic on a personal level can be a lot harder to find. And I don't have an answer to that, but knowing that I was able to connect in this conference setting with so many people who are passionate about helping others was somehow encouraging to me. And many of the people who attended or spoke at this conference have careers that focus in and are all about supporting others with serious challenges. As the conference title would imply, some people live in areas that lack access to things like, I don't know, healthy, fresh food and healthcare services and even urgent care. Not to mention the cost of fuel or an Uber or a Lyft ride to get out and about. It's like, everybody knows it's less affordable than it used to be, right? And it made me realize that there are people who don't have a strong support system or a community to lean on. And if that's you, listener out there, you might feel extra isolated and unable to find meaningful ways to interact on a social basis. So this is very specific, but imagine being an immigrant farm worker who doesn't speak English and how hard that must be. It really made me think about the different levels of struggle that people live every day, depending on their circumstances, and how a little empathy and a little understanding the general community shows for these people is kind of a gap. Day in, day out, they're walking up and down the street, they're not understanding what they're saying or hearing or whatever. And I don't know, it's hard to walk in those shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're all so busy doing our things that we just don't think about a lot of people. And we're just even like taking the break is so hard for us. And, sort of related to what you said, like most recently, I sprained my ankle in my backyard for the first time. I'm very active. I've never had an injury, but it made me think like that I have to stop and I have to think about what's important, and, remember that life is short, and I just feel like, what you just said, we just are always rushing around. We're so busy that we don't think about those people that are like, maybe have it, a much more difficult life than we do because we're just so focused in on what we have to do in the moment. So I think that's an important message to just think about other people besides ourselves, and to slow down. Obviously, I have to slow down now because I have a sprained ankle.
Well, first, ouch. And I am so glad that you didn't break a bone.
Me too.
But not the preferred way to learn a lesson, I'm sure. Everything happening around me seems to be or become a reminder of the many reasons that we started this podcast.
Right.
Health issues can be isolating. In the episode that aired on October 17th, which was the caregiver's journey, I talked about my personal story as it related to caring for my dad, but I do want to consider doing another episode that's about other situations that are playing out long term with people who are completely aware of, what their old life used to be and how they're dealing with their current life. Yeah. People sometimes experience a drastic change in their life and they become stuck, unable to, the quality of their life has been somehow impacted, right?
Absolutely.
And so it makes me wonder how many people out there who, maybe they're now confined to a wheelchair or they're struggling to walk. And how many are out there who only have paid help and, someone's delivering their groceries, somebody might be coming in to do some light housekeeping, but not really anyone there to say, hey, how's it going? Or to sit down and have just a casual chat on a regular basis.
Exactly. And just what you just said, when I sprained my ankle, I realized how difficult it would be, like if I couldn't drive, right?
Oh,
Or if I needed somebody's help, and I think about like, how independent I am, right? And like how you and I, our lives are so planned out, we don't ever think about like spontaneously calling someone, right? So I thought like, gosh, what would happen if I couldn't get to my activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how would that affect my social life and my perception of my life? And I did have like a moment where I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I can't drive? Like, are my friends, who are my friends going to be? Who is going to come? Like what you said, who's going to come talk to me? What will I do? And I was just really having a stress moment, and I can't, and what you just said, I can relate to the fact that somebody who is in that situation now, like, how do they deal with that,
Yeah, exactly. Things happen. They disrupt your routines,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard, and it can be really unsettling. I mean, consider if you just would have stepped down on, like you stepped on an acorn or a chestnut or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it rolled your ankle.
The left leg, so I could still drive with the right. So it had
Right.
been the other way.
Exactly. That's where I was
Yes.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you would have been like without the ability to drive for, gosh, who knows how long.
Oh my God, it would be very handicapping. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just so you know, listeners, she's wearing a boot right now. It's not very comfortable.
No, but we'll deal with it.
So just like this conversation, when you get stimulated by things being shared by others, either in a casual setting between two friends, like just happened between us,
Yeah.
or at a professional conference, there are opportunities to enrich your understanding of the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it sounds weird, but it feels like every interaction that I have is a reason to learn something.
Definitely.
And when I participate in a professional conference, I think about what was shared and how the other participants are also interacting during those same presentations that I'm enjoying. And then I take it back to my workplace, and it's literally my job to find meaningful ways to incorporate these things into projects or programs or maybe an educational or informational piece. Lots of different initiatives can come from the inspiration you get from interacting with others who are doing similar things or things that are impacting the same people that you're trying to help.
Yeah.
And then after I log off my laptop in the office and I grab a bite and I say hi to my spouse, and my mind kind of migrates and it starts thinking about this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this conference, I started considering like some of the Reddit strings and the Substack posts that I've viewed and contribute to in all my spare time in a slightly different kind of way.
Right.
And I've been working to really think about the people who are posting. And when they're chatting about loneliness or social anxiety or feeling alone, I try to think about that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have been finding a lot of encouragement in some of the other people who are providing supportive responses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another reminder that there really are good humans out there in the universe.
Yeah, there are.
So it's like, how do you find them? Can't exactly like put those two things together and tie them up in a pretty bow, but you can see by this activity that there are people out there all the time that do feel these things. So you have to feel encouraged by that.
Definitely.
Hey, I do have one thing that I really want to share that I got off of Substack.
Okay.
And I don't know where this set of thoughts originated because it wasn't like attributed to a specific author, but it is beautiful and I'd love your take on it. Do you mind?
Sure.
So here I go. Remember that you are water. Cry, cleanse, flow, let go. Remember that you are fire. Burn, tame, adapt, ignite. Remember that you are air. Observe, breathe, focus, decide. Remember that you are earth. Ground, give, build, heal. Remember that you are spirit. Connect, listen, know, be still. Now, when I read this, I had to read it like 5 times just to get enough of it the first time I came across it. Like, to the point that I want to, like, frame it, put it in my office.
Yeah, so what I like about it is that the elements are connected to actual actions, right? So it gives us like tangible strategies you can immediately incorporate into your life. So I kind of like, and since I work with kids and I think about behavior, it kind of tells you, if you're water, you can cleanse, you can flow, you can let go, et cetera. So I think it's very important that people understand how they can actually right away act on these thoughts.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I like it. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just like I keep thinking on it like over and over and over again. So I do have another one if you're interested.
Yeah.
So I do need to attribute this one to a Substack writer. Mm-hmm. He goes by Adam M. Grant, and he states, being an introvert is not about where you get your energy. It's about how you handle stimulation. Introverts are energized by people too. We're just easily exhausted by loud parties, close talkers, and endless house guests. I'm not antisocial. I'm pro-quiet.
So when you say that, it makes me think of that California loneliness scale, and it gives us more validity that that's actually a very good instrument because, people have different social and sensory needs. That's pretty much, if you take that, if you answer the questions on that scale, it will tell you where you fall. So basically it tells us that people, what you just said, get over and understimulated in very different ways, which, is great. It makes us all unique. There's no judgment, but it's good to remember that we are so different with what we need with regard to interaction with people.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder because you're right. We've talked about certain people that are extremely quiet and we start thinking, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with that person? But that person probably is fine.
Right.
They just don't need to be talking that much. They're having a good time. They're interacting in their own way and they don't have to talk as much as we do. And that's okay.
Not everybody.
Not depressed. Yeah, exactly.
Not everybody can talk as much as Beth talks.
Okay. That's a whole nother story, which we'll save for another episode.
There you go. Oh, that's funny. And, I know that last episode we talked about kind of different definitions of people. And I think introvert is one that we didn't like call out specifically, but it's kind of like a non-social person. Mm-hmm. Someone who isn't really like, there's no fear or,
right.
It's just somebody that's their lifestyle. Kind of, right?
Yeah, they enjoy being probably alone and just doing things at home. Maybe they don't like to travel and they're okay with it.
Right. And when you think about quiet people, it gets really judgy really fast, right?
It does,
yeah. What's wrong with them? They just won't even interact or, are they too good for us or whatever thing goes through your mind wrongly about the reason that they're being quiet. It doesn't really matter. Maybe they're just quiet.
Yeah. And I think that we, like you said, we do judge a lot. And until we can actually talk to them and meet them and ask them, we have to kind of reserve our judgment. You have to confirm the hypothesis, right?
Exactly. We never know what somebody's full story is unless they trust us to share their truth, right? So for years, I've been practicing non-judgment. And so this is a really strong reminder of why it's important to continue that mission.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I've got another quote for you that's kind of...
I just got excited.
Yes, because you know who James Clear is, right?
Yeah.
Atomic Habits. And I've been kind of following him a little bit and he has some great ideas. And the one thing that he shared this Thursday, I thought kind of like applies to everything we've been talking about. So the idea is the willingness to try, basically, right? Which applies to everything in life. We have to figure out a way to be willing to try something, right? Because if you never try, you never know, what's going to happen, right? You're always going to be maybe wondering, what if I had tried that? So in that spirit, this is what he says: a critical quality to develop in life is the willingness to try. You simply must find enough confidence to give it a go. The human mind is fabulous at learning. You will get better at whatever you practice. But before you can develop the skill to succeed, you must find the courage to attempt.
Attempt, yes. Absolutely. That's a good one. He's a smart dude.
He is.
Yep. I think we've talked about that in past episodes about, different things to try, right? And getting up the courage to do that can be a challenge for some people based on what their history is and the type of person that they are. I think an avoidant or a shy person would have a very much more difficult time than someone who's non-social but decides they would like to, step out and be more social because they don't have any fear associated. They're just like ready to make a change, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot. And we'll always be talking about this because there are so many different scenarios and so many different situations and so many different people out there with different struggles.
Yeah, but I think also what you just said, like somebody who is not that extroverted may also try something one time, not succeed, and then completely not do it again. Right? So the idea is like, okay, it didn't work out this first time. How many attempts? Give yourself like 3-4 tries before you completely give up.
Exactly.
So,
yep, I agree wholeheartedly. So I have one last quote. I think it's our last one that I'm thinking about right now today. We'll see. And I'm suddenly compelled to share it. And it is a very short quote and from a very famous person that needs no introduction, and that's Michelle Obama. And she said, "Am I good enough? Yes, I am."
That's right. It's perfect. So we encourage you to be okay with yourself as you find ways to share yourself in the most confident and comfortable ways that work for you. Our goal is to include you and really hear what you're trying to achieve. In response, we're going to share as many real-life examples and experiences as we can to support, motivate, and encourage you. We can't physically fix the things that you struggle with, but hopefully some of the things that we share will help you find a way forward.
Oh, thank you for that, Bea. Very well said.
You're so welcome.
One last announcement as we begin to wrap up our final episode of season 1. We are not going to do a sharing moment of the week this time, but we are always and continuously appreciative of any comments that you leave. If you took away any special thoughts, you can comment below or you can send an email to share@socialleopards.com. We would love you to follow the Social Leopards podcast from your preferred podcast app. You should see a button, and if there's the word follow and a plus sign, click it. And you usually then see the word following. That way you will get notified upon our return on, again, going to repeat that, February 6th, 2025, with the launch of season 2.
Yay!
We are hoping to expand the number of episodes, and to accomplish that goal, it is important to show that folks are listening, and following us is not only free, but it's super easy to show your support for this podcast.
And I'd like to add that we do not offer a paid subscription. Everything we offer is completely free to all of our listeners.
That's right. And you know what else is free?
Do you know? You can also subscribe to our Social Leopards channel on YouTube.
You can. And in my humble opinion, you should.
Mm-hmm.
We are planning to produce some video shorts that include ways to improve confidence as you navigate the social jungle. Subscribe today so that you get an alert when we post. During our podcast break, we will be focusing in on adding content to that YouTube channel. Also, for season 2, we will be airing videos of our interview episodes. So remember to find us and subscribe at youtube.com/@, that's the @ social-leopards. Or maybe that's social-leopards, however you say that. The little line.
Sure. It's like a dash.
Dash?
I think it's a dash.
Okay. So YouTube, you can use the search tool and just type in Social Leopards.
It's easier.
You'll see the same little leopard head that is on our podcast logo, and click any of those videos and you'll be good to go.
And with that, it's a wrap for both episode 12 and season 1.
Aww.
Well, have a great rest of your week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. This podcast sometimes discusses the struggles of loneliness, isolation, and depression in a way that can be triggering. Our content is not intended to provide or replace professional counseling. If life starts to feel too hard to bear, please seek help. In the United States, dial 988 if you feel as if you may harm yourself or others. Help is a phone call away. If you can't afford or find therapy, dial 211 for no or low-cost resources that may be available near you.